chances are, if you're listening to a show like this, you're focused on improving yourself, being a better version of you, and fulfilling your potential, whatever that is. But it's important that we take a breather, that we look and we reflect and we see how far we've come. And not just look back and reflect and take notes and adjust our actions like we do in other episodes, but we actually stop and we take stock and we look at where we are right now today. And we say, out of all the actions that we've taken, what has given us the best bang for the buck? What is the thing that has really made us successful? And it's quite interesting because a lot of the times we have these like disjointed goals and we are so focused on achieving them. However, in the long term, they actually have very little value. So look at your life, for example. If you've been spending a crazy amount of time going to the gym and you're not in the shape that you want to be, is that something that's worthwhile? Conversely, if you're going to the gym, you're feeling really healthy, you're satisfied with it, maybe you're bulking up, getting your gains, whatever it is that something that makes you feel successful? And there's no right or wrong answer for this. But the chances are that we have these little side projects, we put a lot of effort into it, and it honestly sucks when it fails, but usually that's from poor planning, unrealistic expectations, or bad execution. However, I'm talking about the goals that we do achieve. Look at all the things that you have achieved, and what is the thing that really matters to you? Most people, when they reflect back, they'll say, hey, I am so happy that I stuck with this primary passion, goal, hobby, whatever it is, because it's scalable and it's built right up to where they are today, and they're incredibly good at it. Perhaps they're an expert or a leader in their field, and they get immense satisfaction just from looking back. They can see how far they've come, and maybe they have more room to grow. Maybe they've reached that pinnacle and they're going to teach it. Or maybe they've put so much work into it and they failed, and that's a shame, and they have to decide whether they're going to continue or not. Or they have achieved it, and looking at their life in totality, they might say to themselves, well, look, that was kind of interesting, but in the scheme of things, my family is way more important. My career is so much more important. I have these other hobbies that are equally important, and I've put a disproportionate amount of time into this one thing. Again, I'm not saying that anything is right or wrong in terms of evaluating our goals, but it's so important that you stop and look at what you've done and look at the things that you are so proud of, things that have taken you a great distance. Have you worked really hard at your career and you're just making numbers that you take for granted, and you stop and look back and say, wow, I'm happy I put time into it? Or do you look at your career and say, wow, my marriage is on the verge of divorce, and all the time I put into it, it's just going to be a waste of time? Maybe in terms of deep things like even family, maybe it's like, well, I put so much effort into my family and my wife's going to walk out on me. Or I've put so much work into my family and my wife, she loves me, my child, he's awesome, and life is amazing. And I thank God that I'm the second category. But for you, I want you to think each and every aspect of your life. The reason I ask this is not just an interesting mental exercise, but it has untold amount of dividends for your planning for the future. Because let's say that you've taken a goal and you've taken it as far as it can go. Say, for example, I know some guys, they're really into the gym. They get into their 20s, 30s, they're bulking, shredding, they're looking great. But then they get into their 40s, injuries start to happen, their muscles just aren't working like they used to, their body's breaking down. And they're like, wow, that was good while it lasted, and now I'm going to refocus. Other ones repurpose their interest. Wow, I was really into bulking up, and now I'm into mobility training, and now they can do amazing things of flexibility and calisthenic strengths, whatever that is. So you have to decide where you are, what you've done that's taking you to this place, And if it's worth it, if it's worth pursuing further, and what your future plans are. Now, if you're like really driven like me, like type A, you've got a million goals, you've achieved so many of them, when you look back, you might smile and say, yeah, I have a sense of satisfaction that I did that. And you look back and say, that was great for a season, and I'm proud I've done that, and that's built me up to where I am today, and now I have my next area to focus on. Maybe you've achieved like 50 goals in 1 year, and you look back and you say, wow, only 5 of them were actually things that have massive impacts for my future and that have a massive impact on me psychologically. And the sad problem that nobody talks about is that these sort of people seldom slow down and get to this place and reflect and say, hey, I should actually reevaluate things. No, most of the time they charge forward. They say, yeah, I got my 50 goals sorted. Now I'm going to get 100 goals next year. And after 4 or 5 years, sure, they've accomplished a lot and they might be doing outstanding. But chances are there's only about a quarter or less of the things that they've accomplished that has any real meaning or value to their future self. And this is classic in this age of internet culture. The typical scenario is this. You get somebody, they're watching YouTube all day, wasting their time, and then along comes a video with something vaguely interesting. Maybe how to spin a pen on their finger. Maybe how to spin a staff. Maybe it's how to do origami, whatever it is. And they're like, wow, I can use my time with good intention. In fact, I'll still enjoy it. I'll come out with a skill. And I reckon that's fun. I strongly encourage that sort of growth. However, a lot of people get lost in this. And they're like, okay, cool, I've learned this skill. I'm going to try another one and another one and another one. And as long as they're enjoying the process, what they're doing is giving them great amount of satisfaction, and their future self looks back and says, man, I'm happy I did that. I'm so much more fulfilled. That's wonderful. But a lot of people, they're like, man, why did I spend like 6 months trying to spin a pen? Or why did I spend 6 months trying to play the harmonica and I kind of hate it? And they've lost all their skills in the future. Why did I spend so long trying to master this language that I've never learnt? On the flip side, people could say, no, that was wonderful, but it's individual dependent. Think about 1, if you enjoy it, 2, what the skills mean to you, but most importantly, what your future self thinks about it. So that's enough of me rambling about this. I want you to take action now. The best thing you can do right now is look at where you are today and think about the steps that brought you to this path. Was all that time in your hobby, was it productive? Are you happy? Are you fulfilled in it? And are you taking it somewhere else? Maybe you've had enough with it and you're going to divert to another direction. In your career, are you happy you worked so hard to get to this level? Are you taking for granted all the hard work you did so now you can relax at the top stage of your career if you are there? Or perhaps you're building your career right now and you're happy you've taken the first steps and you can see your future self benefiting. Are you happy in your current relationship? Is there more that you should be doing in it? Think about all aspects of your life and think about where you are right now. Too often we get caught up in our heads and we think in the future things are going to be so good. All I have to do is X, Y, and Z. But the future, it's never here. We only have the present. So stop for a second, look at the present, look where you are, and then think about the future in terms of how you are now looking back. Don't have some dreamy state that in the future things will be better because you've mastered 100 skills. No, think about what's important to you right now. And if you can see what's important, what's made a big difference in your life, then you'll have some idea on how to best direct your energy into goals and other endeavors in the future. For more information on goals and those other things, just check out my past episodes. Otherwise, I'll speak to you on the next episode.
Hope you enjoyed the podcast. If so, rate it from the place you downloaded it. For any questions, send an email to michaelpulser@gmail.com.